Good afternoon, everyone tuning in, listening after the fact. Standing up there, I was adjusting the lighting. I'm using home lighting here. It's nothing fancy. I don't have any Sybil Shepherd filters going on for those of you who remember moonlighting. My name is Bryan. I am the Director of Skincare Research for Paula's Choice Skincare. You're watching the Paula's Choice Skincare YouTube channel, and I'm here most every Thursday at the same time, 2 o'clock Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm kidding, Pacific. To do our Paula's Choice live chat where I take your skincare and other beauty related questions and answer as many of them as I can in the space of an hour. There are a few questions here, and I have one thing to share with you before I dive in and start taking questions, and that is I talk a lot because I've been asked about the skincare products I use on my face. And I've gone over those on more than one occasion. I'm not going to go down that road again. But what I don't talk about as often is one of my favorite Paula's Choice products for the body, and that is our Resist Weightless Body Treatment with 2% BHA salicylic acid. This is a product that I had a direct hand in formulating. I've been working in product development in various capacities, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little. Now it's more steady. But years ago, when we were working on the formula for weightless body treatment, we really wanted to create a BHA exfoliant for the body that could address some of the concerns that crop up from the neck down, including those raised red bumps that you can get on your upper arm, sometimes on your thighs, and other skin blemishes that there just wasn't, and really for the most part, there still isn't anything great on the market to help you deal with them. There are some other BHA body exfoliant products, but typically the pH is too high or just borderline. Ours is lower, right in that range that salicylic acid needs to be effective. I love this product. I use it fairly regularly. I've turned a lot of other people onto it. I have had more than one woman come up to me after using it and saying, "Thank you so much. I can wear sleeveless tops again because I'm no longer embarrassed about that red, rashy looking skin on my upper arms, and I never knew what to do about it, and your product cleared it up." So they love us for that. I love that this really is weightless. It doesn't feel greasy. It does what it says. And why am I talking about it right now? Well, on our website, paulaschoice.com, if you spend $65 or more on any assortment of Paula's Choice products, you get one of these for free, F-R-E-E, a full-size tube, and you get a little size, I think it's a half an ounce or an ounce, of our worldwide best-selling 2% BHA liquid. And a little tip, if you have really stubborn blemishes or bumps on the body and you start using the weightless body treatment and you find like it's not working quite as well or quite as fast as I hoped, apply it with the 2% BHA liquid that you'll get as part of this gift with purchase, and I suspect you'll see even better results. So, okay, let's dive into the questions because they are piling up. It is July 12th and we are off and running. Turquoise Beauty asks, "Hi, I wanted to ask about PC products that you can put on your eyelids. Which of your products are okay to put on your eyelids? Thanks so much. Have a great weekend." You are welcome, and I hope so. Weather's looking good. So anything that you put on your eyelid, of course, the concern is it migrating into the eye itself. So before I give you my answer in terms of what you can and can't use on the eyelids, first of all, pretty much any product of ours that you really, really shouldn't use on the eyelids, it'll say on the package, do not use in the immediate eye area or do not use on eyelids. So look for that. The other pointer is that when you put something, if you opt to, a skincare product on your eyelid area, the objective is to start like kind of in the middle and then move away from the tear duct. Once the product warms to your body temperature, it will migrate a little bit over this way. So you don't want to like flood this area by the tear duct with product because, again, once that warms up, it's going to move, and it's going to move right into the eye itself. It's got the tear duct right there, ready and waiting. So the goal is to move the product away from the tear duct. In terms of what you can and can't use on the eyelid, really any of our moisturizers would be okay. Any of our eye area products, duh. What else? I would use caution with the higher strength retinol products. I would use caution with the higher strength vitamin C products, as well as the higher strength AHA and BHA exfoliants. Paula has been known to put the BHA liquid on her eyelids. She's never had a problem with it. I don't know how enthusiastic I would be about it because of the slippery nature, the slippery texture of that product, and it's going to have more movement. But if you notice that your eyelid is looking more crepey or you've got some dry, flaky skin, it could be worth a try. Again, following that application advice. And obviously, if you overdo it and if the product gets in the eye itself, don't just sit there and take it, even if it's not stinging or burning. And in most cases, it probably won't, but you'll just kind of feel uncomfortable. Rinse it, rinse it, rinse it with water, and either use much less product next time or stop doing that. Another option you can consider that can make it easier is to put whatever product you're considering for your eyelid, dab that onto the tip of a cotton swab, and then just kind of lightly place it where you want it. But if you're dealing with, sometimes, because this happens to me, sometimes I get dry patches on my eyelid area, usually like right in this little corner, almost like clockwork, and I treat that with either Aquaphor or not Cetaphil. CeraVe has a product called Healing Ointment, which is kind of similar to Aquaphor. It has a few different types of ingredients, including ceramides. I like them both. I have little travel sizes of both that I just kind of keep on hand for those more extreme situations. Our lip and body treatment balm would work as well, but because I use that on my lips so much and I'm dipping my finger in there, I just have a hygiene thing with taking something that I put around my mouth and then dabbing my finger in and putting it around my eyes. So I have special products for dry skin around my eye that I only use for that. Sarah says, "Hey Bryan, I have a very stubborn brown spot on my cheek. I hate those." I'm right there with you. Although since I've been treating it, it's gotten more of a cafe au lait tannish color. I use the whole Resist line for oily skin, including the 2% BHA treatment daily. On top of that, I have C25 Super Booster and 1% Retinol Booster. And did you continue your question, Sarah? Because it kind of trails off. Okay. If you have more to add, please do so. I think all of what you're using is good. I will tell you, I have found historically that my brown spots and uneven skin tone respond really well and fairly quickly to topical vitamin C at either the 15% or the 25% as in our spot treatment that you mentioned using. However, on those that I've had, and there have been a few that are more stubborn, the combination of the vitamin C and 2% hydroquinone, which we offer in 2 different products, has been a game changer. I had not only is the hydroquinone and vitamin C combo what's gotten this once darker spot to a much lighter state, even lighter than when I was having light-based treatments on it. I had another discoloration, a brown discoloration on my shin. And at first I thought it was like a post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation from an injury because my legs my legs are often a road map of bruises because I'm not the most graceful in day-to-day life. But I realized that this patch was probably hyperpigmentation of the melanin sort, potentially from sun damage. And so I started putting the hydroquinone vitamin C mix on that spot. And I'm not kidding, within about 2 weeks, I would say it was about 50% lighter. So what I think you need to do, Sarah, is add one of our 2% hydroquinone products to your arsenal. Research is pretty clear that when it comes to stubborn brown spots, the more ingredients you can use to help lighten and brighten them, the better. So rather than thinking there's just one special ingredient out there, use several of them. And in the case of like vitamin C and retinol, those ingredients are going to give you a lot of other benefits too. And you can put those all over your face. And then with the hydroquinone product, you can just dab it on to the affected areas. Now we make the triple action dark spot eraser in a lotion, which also has 7% AHA, glycolic acid. And then we also make it in a gel, which has 2% salicylic acid, BHA. So I think the exfoliant aspect is nice, but it's not as important in my estimation as whether or not you prefer a lotion texture or a gel texture. I use the lotion. I think it works great. They're both very effective. They're in stable packaging. Try it, try it, try it. You'll love it. Let me know what you think. Kareen says, hello, Bryan. I have the body cream 2% BHA that we spoke of earlier and 10% AHA. Is it okay to put on old surgery scar, not fresh wound? Can it improve the look of the scar, or should I avoid putting it on? If it is a flat scar as opposed to a raised scar, which is called a keloid, AHA and BHA cannot improve keloidal scarring. They just can't. And they, of course, cannot make an older scar go away. I mean, scars are permanent. They're a sign of your skin's healing process. Everybody has them, you know, to one degree or another. If the skin healed well and the scar isn't that bad, but maybe it just texturally looks different than the surrounding skin, in that case, then yes, an AHA or BHA and the exfoliating action it provides can help improve the texture of the scar and make it blend more easily into the surrounding skin. So I think it's worth it for that. I would also consider one of our stronger retinol products, like the clinical 1% retinol treatment applied. You could put one of the exfoliants on first in a thin layer and then follow with the clinical 1% retinol treatment. Retinol can definitely help rejuvenate the look of skin, even on older scars. So again, as long as it's not a raised scar, I think you stand a good chance of seeing a difference. Okay. Daniel C. says hi. Hello, Daniel. Anthony says, hey, Bryan, I'm using the 2% BHA liquid, but I keep getting these huge under-the-skin spots along my jawline. Ooh, I call those grounders. Could it be caused by shaving, or have I suddenly developed terrible breakouts? Shaving, not likely, Anthony, unless you're using a really emollient shaving cream and then not rinsing well afterwards, thus allowing the emollients to kind of like build up over time in the pore, or if you're not rinsing it from your razor as well, and therefore you have to use more pressure with each stroke, which could be kind of pushing those emollient thickening type pore clogging waxy ingredients further into the pores where they can get stuck. That could be behind it. If you've noticed the breakouts are correlating with the use of the 2% BHA liquid, it could be part of that purging process that some people go through when they use a 2% salicylic acid or higher type product. These are breakouts that in all likelihood would have happened randomly, but sometimes the use of the exfoliant can kind of like shakes loose those blockages deeper in the pores all at once and can cause some issues that lead to breakouts that will then resolve with ongoing use. However, if they don't get better, even if you change your shaving product or shaving methods, I would consider talking to your dermatologist about topical prescription options, such as those that combine a topical antibiotic like clindamycin with maybe about 3.5 to 5% benzoyl peroxide, and use that along with the BHA exfoliant to get over this hump. Those are the kind of breakouts that you don't just want to let sit and fester if they don't seem to be responding to anything that you've done, barring talking to your doctor. So I'm just saying that so you don't hesitate and wait. Although for some dermatologists, it can take a heck of a long time to get an appointment. Alex says, hola, Bryan. I have heard that good hair begins with a healthy scalp, and the latter is related to skincare. Will PC ever launch a serum for the scalp? I would love to do that. Alex, I bring that up at our product development brainstorming meetings I don't know if scalp serum has specifically come out of my mouth, but those, I think that there's some interesting burgeoning research into that area. First of all, it is true. The healthier your scalp is, the healthier your hair will be. There's other internal factors that can impact the rate of hair growth and hair loss, typically hormones, and some imbalance thereof. Certain diseases and health conditions can also affect the quality of our hair. Just a quick example, somebody going through chemotherapy and the drugs causing them to lose their hair, and then, as is often the case, the hair that they get back when they're through treatment has a very different texture and sometimes even a different color than what they had before they started. Isn't that weird? Sometimes you can finally get the curly hair you always wanted, whatever. Hopefully it works out that way, where you get what you want. You're not thinking the grass is always greener. So, yeah, I would love to see us do something like that. I keep bringing up that type of an idea, and it keeps getting shot down. And I get why. We're not a hair care company. We have a couple of core hair care products, our shampoo and our conditioner, mostly because it's still really difficult to find quality hair care products that are fragrance free, and everybody needs shampoo and conditioner, and styling products don't necessarily come into contact with the scalp itself, not the way shampoos and conditioners can. So those are the two hair care products where it's most important to go for fragrance free, at least if you find that conventionally fragrance products tend to cause scalp itching and irritation. Fragrance is fine for the hair itself. The hair is dead, not going to feel anything. Fragrance isn't going to dry out the hair. There's certainly an argument to be made for a nice fragrance being left behind on the hair. Your hair smells nice and fresh, and if you get sweaty, your hair doesn't smell as gross, and it's all of that stuff. So it's kind of a push-pull. But in terms of us creating like a specialized hair care product, not yet. Maybe down the road. I will keep asking though. Okay, where did we leave off? Moving right along here. Daniel, what do you think is the best Paula's Choice product for skin dehydration? Our Radiance Renewal Mask. Probably my favorite, and you can apply that right after using any of our moisturizing toners, or maybe the hyaluronic acid booster can go underneath that. If you have dehydrated skin that is also kind of feeling parched and dry, I love the combination of the Radiance Renewal Mask, about 3-4 good pumps of that, with about 5 or 6 drops of our Moisture Renewal Oil Booster. And you'd mix that concoction in the palm of your hands and just kind of smooth it over the face and neck. You could also put the Radiance Mask on first and then put the oil on top. That more targeted approach can be helpful if you have certain areas of your face that are really dry. You're dehydrated all over, but maybe you're oily in your T-zone, and so you don't want to put more oil there, but your cheeks are really dry. In that case, that's applying the oil booster just to those areas rather than mixing and applying all over would be the way to go. Alex asks, what is the difference between EGCG and green tea, Camellia sinensis extract, in terms of biochemical activity? It's essentially the difference of the nutritional benefit you would get from eating a strawberry. You're getting some fiber, you're getting some carbohydrates, you're getting natural sugars, you're getting some vitamin C, you are getting plant-based antioxidants. I believe the ones in strawberries are called anthocyanidins, but I could be wrong. It's whatever gives strawberries their red color. But hang with me on this. Versus taking the vitamin C out of the strawberry and just having that. So EGCG is one of several antioxidant compounds known as catechins that are in green tea. It just so happens that EGCG, which is epigallocatechin gallate, is considered to be the most potent antioxidant in green tea. So it's largely believed to be what is driving the antioxidant and anti-inflammatory benefit that topical green tea provides. And not only that, but when you consume it as in a beverage, it does the same thing. Or you can take a green tea pill. It's available that way as well. So essentially, with EGCG, you're getting the potent antioxidant benefit, but you're losing some of the other more, I guess you could say, fringe benefits that the entire green tea molecule would provide, along with the EGCG. So at Paula's Choice, depending on the product and whatnot, we will often use both. So you'll see EGCG in a product along with green tea, and sometimes we'll just use green tea in various forms, usually the leaf extract, because that's considered the most interesting. Depending on the other antioxidants and other ingredients in the product. So I wouldn't necessarily say that one is better than the other, just carte blanche. They're both good. EGCG is just more targeted, more concentrated, so there's no reason not to use both. Stephanie says, Bryan, I got caught outside and couldn't reapply sunscreen, so now with a great sunburn. Oh no, what products should be avoided as skin heals, and what products are best to use? Thanks, love these videos. Oh, Stephanie, I'm so sorry about that. Being sunburn prone, I feel your pain. So, number one, if you're still in the midst of the sunburn and it's red and kind of hot and maybe even a little painful, with your physician or pharmacist, okay, you can certainly take over-the-counter anti-inflammatories like Advil, aspirin, or naproxen sodium, which is Aleve, one brand name. It's available generically. That can help take down some of that hurt and that swelling and help the skin in turn heal faster. In terms of what you use topically, the general rule of thumb, and we have an article on this on our website. You can just go to paulaschoice.com and the search thing at the top, just type in sunburn and then click over to expert advice articles. You'll see those there. The general rule, though, is to avoid putting anything thick, heavy, occlusive, too emollient, or oily on skin. Reason being is because those types of ingredients many times can trap the heat of the burn, and so it's not able to escape the skin as readily as it would if you use lighter weight, liquid gel type products. So one of the reasons that aloe vera gel is often touted as a remedy for sunburn, it's not so much because aloe is chock full of all these amazing things, although it does have some interesting attributes to it, don't get me wrong. It's that aloe is a gel. It's an aqueous gel. Aloe is 98, 99% water. And it can feel refreshing on warmed, burned skin. So go with that. If you develop more severe side effects from the sunburn, swelling, blisters, if you are having any difficulty breathing, that's nothing to take lightly. I would call an urgent or go visit an urgent care center as soon as possible. Obviously, you're okay now or you wouldn't be here asking this question, but sometimes, depending on the severity of sunburn and how long it can take to work its way through, those types of more alarming symptoms can occur after the fact. So just be wary. Okay. Let me scroll back. Guys are full of good questions today. But let me get to some people who I have not spoken to today. Just Novit Curia. Hi, Bryan. Your skin is glowing. It is? Ooh, maybe I should have powdered. Oh, that's okay. That's a good thing. When you have oily skin and you're glowing, you're like shiny, shiny, shiny. Any chance of your AM/PM routine, please? Yep, I can run through it. Karen asks, are BHA or AHA able to fade out tattoos? Not really. I mean, AHA and BHA exfoliate the uppermost layers of skin. You might, after a long time of using it, see some fading, but honestly, unless you've just been super good about sunscreen ever since you've had the tattoo, not just when it's healing, it would be really hard to look back and quantify how much fading was potentially from AHA, BHA long-term use and how much was from not being great consistently about sun protection. Because it's the UV light that's really going to cause the fading. Um, and in terms of the ink, from what I'm not a tattoo expert by any stretch of the imagination. I've talked to some people who are tattoo artists over the years, and that ink that gets worked pretty deep into skin. I mean, that is why tattoos are permanent. Um, but all of them have said that some amount of fading is inevitable over time, and that the number one thing you can do to slow that down and maybe even prevent it, depending on the inks used, is to keep the area protected with sunscreen or protective clothing. You know, if it's a tight weave, if it's leather, things like that, sun's going to have a hard time getting through there to get to your skin. That's the most important thing you can do. My skincare routine. What have I been doing lately? I've got my usual, let's see, morning Moisture Boost One-Step Cleanser. This is all Paula's choice for normal to dry skin. I use the PC for Men Shave. I use our Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner. My latest little cocktail in the morning, not a Bloody Mary, is the Calm Redness Relief Serum, as well as our Hyaluronic Acid Booster. I layer those two. Thin layers, because I don't want a feeling of a whole lot of stuff on my face. And then I use the SkinCeuticals Physical Fusion UV Defense SPF 50. That's the one Paula's Choice skincare product that is the one skincare product from another brand that I use because I just happen to really like the texture and the color and how it works on my skin. And I'm just very particular about sunscreens, and I've always said, you know, this is true for all of you listening, you need to find a daily sunscreen product that you look forward to using. Believe me, it's out there. It might take some experimentation before you find it. It not only has to feel good, but it has to work well with the other products you're using or the makeup you're using. There's just a whole laundry list of things to consider. But that's my morning routine. Evening routine, same cleanser, same toner, Resist Advanced Replenishing Toner. I will typically use, I'll rotate our exfoliants at night. I either use the Calm 1% BHA lotion or the Resist Advanced Pore Refining Treatment, 4% BHA, or the Resist Advanced Smoothing Treatment, which is 10% AHA. And sometimes, just for fun, I may also use the Resist Daily Smoothing Treatment, 5% AHA. I do not apply all of those at the same time. I just pick one and go with it. My skin tends to do best that way. Some people like applying more than one of our exfoliants at the same time. That's fine. You can play with that and see what it does for you. I will follow then with one of our boosters. Lately I've been using the 1% Retinol Booster, and then I finish with moisturizer and eye cream. Lately I've been using the Calm Redness Relief Moisturizer for normal to oily skin. I also love our Skin Balancing Moisturizer. Kind of go back and forth between the two, and they have similar textures. And then I use the Resist Anti-Aging Eye Cream at night, which is a balm-like product. Every so often, for a special treat, I will put on the Radiance Renewal Mask over that whole thing. And some nights, if I use one of our thinner boosters, like the Peptide Booster or the C15 Super Booster, I will also use our Resist Super Antioxidant Concentrate Serum. So those are my usual suspects. I change it. You know, I follow the same core steps, morning and night. But then in terms of the treatment products I use, those kind of get alternated and sometimes layered as needed. I like having that wardrobe, as I call it, of skincare treatments so that it's almost like this fun little carousel where I'm making sure that my skin is getting exposed to all of these really cool ingredients, and I don't feel overwhelmed like I have to put all this on my face at one time or I'm somehow missing out. I just kind of space it out throughout the week. All right, moving on. Roel, hi Bryan, what cosmetically elegant mineral body sunscreen can you recommend? The MD Solar Sciences mineral sunscreens are probably my favorite pure mineral sunscreens that I would consider have an elegant texture. It goes on very silky, not too greasy. I was just experimenting with the sheer zinc sunscreens that Neutrogena came out with, and they're just zinc oxide, I think about 20-21%, an SPF 50. And there's a face and a body one, and my lord, those are thick. I mean, like pasty thick, and that sensation doesn't go away. I mean, Neutrogena can certainly formulate a great sunscreen. I've used them over the years, but calling either of those anything but sheer is just wow. I don't know. I gave some to my husband to use when he's out doing yard work. He has very sun-sensitive skin, and he definitely prefers the mineral sunscreens. And he put it on, and he was just like, all right, I'm wearing this once, but never again. Another brand that has an interesting mineral sunscreen for the body, and I think the Beautypedia team reviewed it, is Derma E. Derma space E. They have a mineral sunscreen for the face that comes in a small tube, and for the body that comes in a bigger tube. I'm fairly certain they're the same formula, if not really, really close. So there's no reason you couldn't buy the larger tube of the body one and use it on the face, but you did ask about the body. So that would be another one to look at. Norse Dragon Hunt. Hello again. I understand ceramides, a group of skin restoring ingredients, restoring and replenishing, but can you also say they are anti-aging ingredients? I would argue yes. Reason being is that one of the things that keeps our skin looking fresh, young, plump, and healthy when we're younger, when we're children, before we've had a lot of sun damage and environmental exposure, is the fact that our barrier substances, of which ceramides comprise 50%, so no slouches them, they're all there and healthy, and they're, you know, the skin is producing a normal amount, and the mechanisms that cause ceramides to develop in the skin haven't started to become faulty, thereby leading skin to produce fewer ceramides or not enough quality. Like they're producing the same amount, but they're kind of damaged. They're irregular. So even though the numbers may be the same, that, you know, what's there just isn't as healthy as it once was. When you give those ingredients back to skin, and especially when you also start protecting it from ongoing environmental damage, which would mean sunscreen, your skin can return to an extent, never as much or as great as we hope, but certainly to an appreciable, visibly different degree. Your skin, when you give it those ceramides, can start to look and act younger. That is why I consider ceramides anti-aging without a doubt. And I would say the same thing for omega fatty acids. Even though those ingredients don't, like omega-3, 6, and 9 fatty acids, they don't occur naturally in the skin the way ceramides do, they have similar benefits and similar actions when you use them in skincare products. That's one of the reasons why when we put together our Resist Omega Plus Complex Serum, we didn't just use omegas. There are ceramides and other replenishing ingredients in that mix as well, because they work nicely together. Rocco says, I was at the facial spa getting microneedling, and my facialist gave me a silver toner for my face. They are little silver particles in the toner. She said it's good for breakouts. Is it safe? So silver, sometimes as silver nitrate, is sometimes touted for acne or other types of breakouts because it has antibacterial properties. Just off the top of my head, I can't recall specific research regarding silver's antibacterial properties applying to the P. acnes bacteria. It might not. I just, right now in the moment, I can't say with 100% certainty. What I can say is that topical use of pretty much any type of silver can lead to a skin condition called agraria. And what that is a permanent bluish-gray discoloration of the skin. Now, chances are, Rocco, like in the case of the product that your esthetician recommended, the amount of silver is likely too low to cause something like that to happen. But at the same time, why take the risk, especially if there's no research backing up its antibacterial action applies to acne? So if it were me, I wouldn't use it, at least not without doing a lot more homework. Paul Sydney77 says, "Hello, Bryan. Please advise products for tightening skin. Best wishes." And oh, you just asked that question twice in a row, and it showed up, or it showed up twice. Technical error. So tightening skin is tricky. There are products, ingredients like ceramides, ingredients like retinol, certain peptides can help to make skin look and feel firmer. But if by tightening skin, you can get some level of tightness by making skin firmer. But what you can't do, even with ingredients that increase skin's firmness, is stop the sagging and skin becoming loose and lax, like along the jawline or the under eye area. The changes happening there are somewhat fueled by sun damage, but they're more fueled by the biological changes that happen as we get older. And one of those, particularly for women at the towards the end of menopause, when their estrogen drops precipitously and you're not doing anything topically or internally, again, this would be working with a physician territory to get those estrogen levels back up to normal. The skin can become thinner, and you can go through more advanced bone loss. Now, this happens to guys too, and it does have to do to some degree with our levels of testosterone dropping as we get older. Testosterone being the primary male hormone, estrogen being the primary female hormone, but both men and women have the other as well. It's all about proportion. Where was I going with that? Oh, so men can experience that to some degree as well. There's also gravity, which is impacting us all, just day-to-day life and living with the constant downward pull that keeps us literally grounded. That can take its toll over time. And then there's the fact that as we start losing bone, skin actually keeps growing. It sounds a little weird, but essentially the scaffolding that once held our skin taut and in place is weakening and actually diminishing, and the cover, what goes over the scaffolding, is getting bigger. That coupled with the gravity, that coupled with some amount of sun damage, that coupled with fat pads in the face, and there's 21, 24 of them that age and shift at different times. Isn't that fun? That can all contribute to signs of sagging and loose skin and cause us to look for products that can tighten the skin. There are products out there that will make that claim. One I tried recently, just because I've heard so much about it, was that Hanacure mask, and that takes tightness to the extreme. It was pretty uncomfortable, but I get why people would use that and think, wow, my skin feels so much firmer and tighter, and I don't have obvious signs of sagging yet, so I can't comment on what a product like that would have done or would do or did do for my areas of sagging. But I don't think it would do much beyond like a temporary fix, kind of like using an egg white mask and letting it dry and it feels really tight, and you remove it and you're like, okay, that was fun. So I don't have a great single product or even a group of products to use to tighten skin. What I do recommend is following a great anti-aging skincare routine that includes a topical AHA or BHA exfoliant, daily sun protection, antioxidant-loaded serum, and a moisturizer for your skin type that includes tons of replenishing, soothing, and more antioxidant-type ingredients. That's the core, along with a gentle cleanser, and then you can talk to a cosmetic dermatologist about having one or more non-invasive tightening procedures done that actually really do have some impressive research showing, especially if you start doing them at the first signs of sagging, because there will come a point, if you're not doing the maintenance along the way, where your skin will continue to sag to the point where the only viable solution to turn back the clock, so to speak, is literal surgery, as in a facelift. It's not called a face tightening, it's called a facelift because they literally lift up, resuture skin and muscle and fat pads that have fallen out of place, and therefore making you look the way you did, if it goes well, when you were 10, 12, 15 years younger. But procedures like thermage, which is a radio frequency type heat. There's Ulthera, which has some pretty impressive research behind it. Some dermatologists will use a combination of those with strategically injected filler, which can be great. You just want to make sure you're working with a dermatologist that is well versed in both of those areas, not somebody who's just starting out with filler. I mean, not that you don't need to give them the benefit of the doubt in terms of a learning curve, but if it were me, I wouldn't want to be their guinea pig. So that's my best approach. If the sagging is starting to become more noticeable, but it's not necessarily advanced yet, starting those non-invasive procedures coupled with a good anti-aging skincare routine is the best, most research-supported way to go. Deep breath. Okay, Elena says, hi, Bryan, what will help get rid of broken capillaries on face? Those need to be addressed with various light or laser treatments that a dermatologist can provide. There are no skincare products that can eliminate broken capillaries. There are skincare products, those that are packed with soothing, calming ingredients that can reduce the appearance of broken capillaries. If you are using irritating fragrance products, if you are routinely exposing your skin to the sun without sun protection, those types of things can make the appearance of broken capillaries much worse. They'll just be much more obvious on skin, and it could actually lead to the formation of more broken capillaries. But to really get them under control, you need to zap them at their source, quite literally, and a dermatologist is well equipped to handle that. And then you can talk about the various skincare products to use, and it has to include a sunscreen that, with any luck, will keep them from recurring. Some people are genetically predispositioned to get those more throughout their life. If that's you, then you just kind of need to do what you can to stay on top of it. The other thing I wanted to mention is that broken capillaries can be an early sign, particularly if they're accompanied by facial flushing that comes and goes. They can be early signs of a skin disorder known as rosacea that affects quite a few people, I believe up to 17 million people in the United States alone, both men and women. It is more common in women, not to a huge degree, but it is generally thought to be more common in women. And one of the symptoms can be broken capillaries. So you'd want to have a dermatologist visually examine you and discuss your history and symptoms with him or her and see what they think. Oh, Anthony. Did we take a question from Anthony? We've got about 15 minutes left. Oh, we took a question from Anthony Parkinson. Now... Or did Anthony Parkinson change his name? I'm kidding. Anthony Garcia says, if you weren't good about sunscreen for a few years and started using BHA or AHA, of course, with sunscreen, would it prevent the damage from showing in later years or just improve the skin? It would just improve the skin. However, you can't, once the skin is exposed to the sun without protection and that damage occurs, there is a portion of it, and we don't necessarily know for sure how much, but there's a portion of it that can never be repaired, meaning your skin will never go back to the way it was before that damage took place. However, great skincare products, and including daily use of a broad spectrum sunscreen, can allow some amount of repair to happen. Our skin naturally wants to repair itself. When you get an injury, when you cut your skin, the very first thing it does is start the repair process. The body systems that govern wound healing go into overdrive immediately to help heal that wound. Sun damage is essentially a cumulative wounding of the skin. You're just kind of making it worse every time you get a tan or burn, or every time you go out without sunscreen. And so when you start protecting your skin every day and you're good about not tanning and actually not spending as much time overall in the sun, because no sunscreen is 100% effective at screening all the rays, a little bit gets through, then you give your skin the opportunity to repair itself the way it knows how to do. But it hasn't been able to do that because we keep getting in the way by not treating the skin with the TLC it needs. You know, if you keep going out in the sun without protection, if you keep tanning indoors or out, you're constantly basically kind of hitting at those repair systems in skin that are there to help your skin look as good to the outside world as it can, and you're not letting it do that. But when you start taking better care of your skin and protecting it from ongoing sun damage, it will step in and start doing what it's supposed to do. The truth and beauty is that it just can't repair everything. Kind of like how somebody who used to smoke, and I'm one of those people, believe it or not, I know my lungs, even though I haven't smoked for years, my lungs will never be as pink and as healthy as they were in the years when I wasn't a smoker. Some amount of repair happens, and you can read stats that say, you know, after quitting smoking for 10 years, you know, the lung function and capacity returns to that of a non-smoker, which is great, but that doesn't mean that all of the damage that, for example, I did over the years of smoking is just going to go away. There'll always be a part of it there that remains, and you know, it's reduced lung function. So yeah, if you do smoke, please consider quitting. It was one of the best things I've ever done, and also one of the hardest things I've ever done. And I was never a very heavy smoker. It just wasn't something I could get away from entirely. Okay, let's see. Gabi Hong. Hi, Bryan. Any suggestions for very oily skin? My skin is very thin with visible capillaries and pores. Also get redness really easily, like after some wiping motion. Gabi, you might be dealing with rosacea. I definitely think, based on what you just wrote, that seeing a dermatologist at the very least to potentially rule that out would be good. You can have rosacea and any other skin type. It's not about dry skin. It's not about having oily skin. And some people get rosacea and acne at the same time. And some of the symptoms of rosacea can look like acne, those little pustule-like breakouts that tend to happen on the fleshy part of the cheek. So my top two suggestions for very oily skin are to use the lightest possible weight products that you can get away with. Thin, liquidy, gel-type textures should only be what you're using. And then, because the more products, particularly during the day, the more products you layer on oily skin, the more shiny your skin is going to look, the worse your skin is going to feel. So you actually want to try to use as few products as possible, at least during the day, if you wear makeup, because again, more products, more oil means the makeup is not going to last as long. It's going to slide away, it's going to fade, or it won't adhere well. So use fewer products and as light as possible during the day. You still need a sunscreen. But if you find a really good oil-free matte finish foundation, you may find that makes a great sunscreen. I mean, look for an oil-free matte finish long-wearing foundation that has sunscreen. If anyone knows if Lancome's Tantadol foundation is probably one of the better ones there, but that had sunscreen at one point, and I'm thinking that they took it away. But if they didn't, that would be a good one to look at, Gabi, because it's just so matte and so long wearing. Comes in a great range of shades, pretty much for any skin tone. The other thing I like, especially from the Paula's Choice line, are those mattifying type products. Our product is called Shine Stopper Instant Matte Finish, that you can dab onto your oily areas, even if that means it's all over your face. And our product has what's called micro sponge technology. And they literally are these tiny, hollow, sponge-like particles that absorb the oil, the excess oil, and kind of like a sponge holds water until you squeeze it. Those micro sponges absorb and hold the oil, kind of like in this floating matrix, if you will, above skin surface. It sounds a little hokey. And if I hadn't seen it for myself, I would be like, yeah, right. But it really does work. And how long it lasts, we have clinical tests showing that the microsponge technology can hold back excess oil and shine for up to 6 hours. My personal experience with Shine Stopper, I find I get maybe 3-4 hours of what I would call really impressive shine control, and then I see some amount of it start coming back. But it is never as bad as if I hadn't used Shine Stopper at all. There are some other products out there, Becca, Becca, which you can find at Sephora and Ulta stores. They make a primer type product that's mattifying that uses magnesium, I believe a magnesium aluminum silicate, which can be a bit drying, but damn, it's absorbent and mattifying, and that can be salvation for somebody who just has really oily skin. Last but not least, you can talk with your physician about a short-term course of an oral vitamin A drug known as isotretinoin. Used to be marketed under Accutane. Accutane itself, last I knew, was officially discontinued, but generic versions of this remain available from your physician. What this vitamin A drug does when taken orally is it literally shrinks oil glands, some would say back down to the size of a baby's. How many babies have you seen with really oily skin? How many moms have you seen going around, blotting or putting powder on their baby's face because it's too shiny? That doesn't happen. It's because their oil glands are immature. They're just very, very tiny. Tiny oil glands don't produce a lot of oil. That I would consider a last ditch resort, but it could potentially be a permanent fix. There is a laundry list of side effects you'll want to go over with your doctor if you decide to go that route. Would you recommend Clorox? This is from Ollie. Would you recommend Clorox bleach to reduce the look of spots? Only on white cotton clothing, Ollie. That is it. Do not use bleach on your skin ever. It's highly irritating. To say nothing of the potential blindness that could happen if a little bit splashes in or near your eye. Just makes me shiver to think about it. Aphrodite says, hi, Bryan. I always use sunscreen with SPF 50 after my day cream, which also has SPF. Am I overdoing it? I don't think so. If more sunscreen, the better, because most of us tend to under-apply it. We think we're putting it on liberally, but we may not understand exactly what liberal application means. And I don't blame you if you're confused about that. It is confusing. The rule of thumb is 2 milligrams of product per centimeter squared of skin. Okay, that's what they use in the testing, but what does that translate to? And some will say, well, it's a dime-sized amount for the face, or a nickel-sized amount for the face. Well, what if you're somebody like me that has a big-ass face? Is that going to be not enough for me? And, but I could point to somebody like my coworker Desiree. She has a more petite face. The same amount of sunscreen that I would need to count as liberal application on my big face would probably be overkill for her smaller face. So that rule of thumb doesn't really work either. And the same thing about the whole shot glass amount to your body. Well, look around, there's all shapes and sizes of bodies. Some people are bigger, some are smaller, some are taller, some are shorter, some people are heavier. It's all skin that needs to be covered. It's that's why we've kind of defaulted to just saying put a lot on, put on a layer that you can see, let it absorb, and especially if you're going to be going outdoors, put on another layer. Now, what you're doing, Aphrodite, I think is great, because if you're not somebody that is confident you're going to put on a liberal amount of one particular sunscreen, then the best thing you can do is layer 2 or 3 facial products that have sunscreen. So, for example, your daytime moisturizer with sunscreen, a primer with sunscreen. Paula's Choice has one of those. There aren't many primers with sunscreen out there. Kind of a cool little invention, because you'll get extra sun protection and better makeup application. And then finish with a foundation with sunscreen, and if you want to go even further, you can set your foundation with a looser pressed powder that has additional sun protection. Doing something like that is a great way to walk out of the house knowing, man, you're covered. You are good, and unless you're swimming, sweating, or out in the sun for several hours at a time, that type of layering should keep you covered all day long. You'll still have a good amount of sun protection at the end of the day. All right, timing-wise? 5 minutes. Time for the lightning round. Let's see if I can really do this. Our lightning round is when I try to give as short of an answer as I possibly can. But I do have a bit of diarrhea of the mouth. My apologies. Also, my apologies for using that word. Rather unpleasant. Yeah. So, Andrea asks, what do you recommend for hairline seborrheic dermatitis? Generally, for seborrheic dermatitis, you'll want to use a prescription topical cream to get it under control. It can help. Look to see, though, if you can find a product called Dermazinc. That uses an active ingredient called zinc pyrithione, which is commonly used in anti-dandruff shampoos. It used to be sold on some websites. I think it still is. It comes in a jar. But talk to your physician or pharmacist before using that ongoing. Zinc pyrithione can really help get that under control, though. And if you're worried about hair products during the day, rub it into your hairline at night. See, I just can't do a fast answer. Monica Dougal. Bonjour, Bryan. Best advice for black man's beard area. Hyperpigmentation, scarring, ingrowing hairs. Got my boyfriend on the PC products and skincare advice. Thanks. Good cheers. Oh, thank God. Okay, cheers. Love you. Oh, thank you. With the French there, I'm wondering if your name is pronounced Monica. Maybe not. In any case, yes, black men, their whiskers, African-American men, the whiskers tend to be naturally curly, whereas on a lot of Asian men and Caucasian, the hairs tend to be more straight. Not always, but generally speaking, African-American whiskers tend to be curlier. The curlier the whisker, the more likely you are to have an ingrown hair and all the fun, sarcastic there, that comes with it. So I think that the best product that he can start using is the PC for Men Soothe and Smooth because of its 2% salicylic acid, which can really help with ingrown hairs and bumps, razor burn. Got a ton of great anti-aging ingredients in there as well. The PC for Men Lightweight Sunscreen with SPF 30 is great. Darker skin tones need sun protection too. Hyperpigmentation. The scarring you refer to is probably a discoloration type of scarring and not an actual scar, I'm hoping. If it's a scar as in like from an injury or from a bad cystic type acne breakout, there really isn't much that can be done via skincare for that. But that general discoloration, I think that his skin would respond really well to a higher strength vitamin C product, such as the C15 Super Booster or our C25 Spot Treatment. He can massage either one through the beard area and see if that helps after he puts on the PC for Men Soothe and Smooth. Christina says, I'm still confused about denatured alcohol in skincare products. I've seen conflicting information about whether it's drying or not. Is there a risk for hidden inflammation with it in SPF, for example? So it can depend on the amount, Christina, but generally speaking, the amount needed for a sunscreen spray is typically 40 to 60% in order to aid in dispersion, and to give that lightweight, dry skin finish that a lot of people who use sunscreen, I'm one of them, want. By the way, quick side note, the Banana Boat Dry Balance sunscreen, I believe it's called, it comes in an SPF 50 version, is wonderful. It looks like a thick cream, but it sets to a super silky, matte, somewhat, I wouldn't call it, it's not thick or heavy. I love that as a body sunscreen, unless you want a mineral one, because that isn't. But I can't do anything about the fact that research has shown that alcohol, even in amounts as low as 2%, literally kills skin cells. However, given the importance of sunscreen and the need to reapply, again, talking about sunscreen sprays with alcohol, and because sunscreen is made to stay on the surface of skin and not penetrate into the lower layers, because if it did, what's going to protect the surface? Plus, in a spray form like that, the alcohol is going to evaporate pretty quickly versus like using a liquid toner with alcohol. I don't come down as hard on sunscreens with alcohol because I think that's a group of products, and no, we're not making one at Paula's Choice. don't worry, that has its place. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that. All right, let's take 2 more questions. Yoon asks, can you tell us more about azelaic acid booster, which just launched on the US site to our VIP group today. It'll be available for everyone later this month. Is it the same formula as the EU version? It is the same formula. It is the same formula as the Resist Skin Transforming Multi-Correction Treatment that we formulated for the European Union because of the difficulty in getting benzoyl peroxide over the counter as an acne treatment there. Okay. Let's take this one from Nicole Jane. She says, hi, Bryan. Sorry to ask again. I can't see your response due to issue with the comments. What do you think of the high percentage acids like the one from Drunk Elephant and The Ordinary? I think that those are fine for occasional use. As with those high acid products, which are often referred to as peels, you really need to pay close attention to how your skin responds. I wouldn't recommend using those products every single day. I would recommend using those products as rinse off only. And I know that the Drunk Elephant one is. I'm not 100% sure on the one from The Ordinary. But generally, they're like 5, 10, maybe 15 minutes and then rinse off. I think that those can, as long as the product doesn't contain irritating ingredients, like the alcohol we were just discussing, and I don't think either one of those do. In fact, I'm 99% certain they don't. Yeah, great. And they can be used by all skin types. Generally, the higher strength products like that are better, though, for more advanced concerns, advanced sun damage, deeper wrinkles, more stubborn clogged pores and bumps. And then I think using a lower strength exfoliant for day-to-day stuff is great. All right, let's see here. There is some additional questions. One of these times, I want to get to everyone's questions. I don't use a silk pillowcase. Somebody asked about that. I just use a cotton pillowcase. Not a big fan of microcurrent devices like the New Face. They're all right. How to use sunblock without looking like a wax doll. From Fernando. Okay, this will be the last one, then I swear I'll go. I think that comes down to the type of sunscreen that you're using, and you probably just need to experiment with sunscreens that have different textures. If by wax doll you are referring to the sunscreen having a shinier or wax-like sheen on the skin once it sets, I tend to find that the mineral sunscreens, those that contain only titanium dioxide and or zinc oxide as the active ingredients, have more of a matte, kind of almost like a powder soft type finish that I wouldn't construe as being wax-like. So, all right, that's it for this week's session. I will be back a week from today for another live chat. Thank you guys so much for joining and especially for your questions. These wouldn't happen without your questions, so I'm glad that you're hanging in there, and I hope that you find this information to be helpful. In the comments section, after this gets posted, you can leave additional questions, feedback. Let me know. I want these chats to be of value to you. For the most part, I know this stuff. I'm always learning more. I'll never go on record saying I know it all, and you should run from somebody who does, but because nobody can possibly know it all. But I want to make sure that these chats are really value added for you, that I'm covering topics that you want to hear about, and that we can really have a collaborative experience with these and learn from each other, ultimately. So goodbye for now, and I will see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.